listening to Loving BDSM Podcast, episode 136. Kayla Lord's here with the one, the only, the going ahead hard and heavy on the coffee today, John Brownstone.
Is there any other way?
Well, clearly I haven't had enough yet because I can't speak. This week, we're talking about intimacy in DS, and not just the fucking kinky fuckery kind either, y'all. So it's not quite where we're going with that. Intimacy on a different level.
Darn.
We can talk about sex any other time. We have talked about sex.
Want to have sex?
Well, that would be nice too. That's a different thing. Can I do this? I
Go
have
ahead.
a job here to do. I distracted myself and then you helped.
Of course.
I know.
You're going to jump down that rabbit hole. I'm going to take you down.
No, if I'm jumping, you're not taking.
Well,
see,
okay.
you've clearly had too much coffee.
I'm going to help you down the rabbit
You're
hole.
going to push me down the rabbit hole. That's what happened. Welcome to the Loving BDSM Podcast. If this is your first time listening, glad to have you. If you're back for another week, welcome back. Loving BDSM is produced every Friday for your kinky pleasure and education. Show notes are found at lovingbdsm.net. Come back often and feel free to add the podcast to your favorite podcast app. If you love what you hear, we'd love a good review wherever you listen to us to help other kinksters find us. You can follow the show on Twitter at LovingBDSM, on FetLife at LovingBDSMPC, or on Instagram at that handle I hate, LovingDS and the number 1, LovingDS1. All links are in the show notes. I hate that handle. It's a thing. I need a shirt that says at that handle I hate
that handle.
I hate that handle. I need shirts that say lots of things. That happens to be one of them.
Yes.
So if we seem a little punchy, we are, but not for the normal reason.
No.
The sun is out. We're recording in daylight.
Yeah.
We had to terrify the children and say, "Don't come out of your room," because we're recording while they're actually awake and around, and they could conceivably, hear us talking about
Stuff.
So I think we're a little drunk on power.
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh, ha, ha, look at us with control over our schedule. Mwahaha.
And coffee.
And this is my first cup of coffee for the day.
Third.
Shocking. Giant.
Yeah.
It's a big cup. It's a Yeti.
Go big or...
You're already at home. You can't go big or go home. You're already at home.
I'm already home. I came home and went big.
You just went big. You never even left home. You just went big. And then the other thing, which is not why we're probably a little goofy. We're always goofy. I have to accept that.
We are who we are.
We are who we are. And God knows we're not going to be anybody else. Because that's no fun. Just a reminder that you can join us over on Patreon.
Yes.
Patreon.com/Kayla Lords, or link in the show notes. And get more of the behind the scenes stuff. I just posted a picture of us. We took a selfie with the microphone. So
yes.
Was it the microphone selfie or was it our selfie? I don't know.
We were selfie bombed by the microphone.
I think we photobombed the mic because it was in front of us.
Think so?
And if we're going to be technical about it. Anyway,
okay.
But right. I posted that up to Patreon and I told them the day before this episode even goes live what the topic is. So we are trying to sort of share those behind the scenes things with our kinky patrons over on Patreon. And you can get that stuff for as little as $1 a month. You pledge an amount, you put your preferred payment method in. You're charged each month. It's like a set it and forget it, but you can stop it at any point too. And so, it's as low as $1 a month, and you get access to right now, 3 podcast episodes a month. 2 are of me reading, which I am getting better at that. I just did 13 and 14.
Yeah, I edited them. Edited. Bleh, I can't talk.
No, I think you just need to drink the coffee and look pretty.
I edited the podcasts for you.
I know. I tell everybody that you're there with me in spirit because you edit them. So I am reading old posts from my blog archive, which has officially now has 1,800 published blog posts. Wow. So there's almost no way somebody is ever going to go back and read all of it. So I'm reading it for them. And then we now do a bonus section.
Yes.
So it's like a bonus section at the end of these episodes, but we actually focus on the behind the scenes stuff, the stuff we're planning, the stuff we're dreaming, the stuff we're doing. Yeah. And all of that, as low as $1 a month. I did the math. If everybody who regularly listens to the show pledged just $1 a month, I would never have to write another vanilla article again. I could do all sex writing all the time. I'd still have clients. I wouldn't get rid of all the clients. But
it would all be sex.
It would all be sexual. I could fire every vanilla client I've got. I know. It's a goal. It's a dream.
Come on, folks. That's a hefty goal there. Have her doing nothing but sex?
Being Kayla Lord's every moment of every day.
Wow.
I know.
I like that.
I would like that too. But those are long-term goals. But no, it's extra stuff, and the reason we're doing that kind of stuff over on Patreon is because we don't have the membership community. So it's not like the community was, the forums were on the site several months ago. There's not people can talk to one another because it's like a social media feed. You can comment back and forth,
sure.
but it's not that. So if that's what you want, you'll be waiting for a while. But if you want to join us and do other things, then we're over on Patreon, link in show notes. Ta-da. And there we go. I'm going to stop talking about that now because we got a whole episode to do.
And a bonus section to do. Of which I know I will have something to talk about. I don't know what it'll be.
So this episode, there is no blog post to accompany it. No, normally I write a blog post on Wednesday before the show goes out on Friday, and it's a companion piece. It talks in text, for people who prefer to read or want something maybe more step-by-step, 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, reasons to do this, ways to do that, things to try. That's what the blog post usually is. There is no blog post for this episode.
No.
And I'll tell you why. I should be ashamed. I'm not ashamed. We did not come up with a topic until Thursday morning. And actually, I came up with a topic at midnight when I couldn't sleep, and somebody was snoring next to me.
Well, I'm going to put a little addendum to that. Tuesday night, when we went to bed, I was laying in bed. We were laying in bed. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I should ask, and let's talk about what we are going to do for our next topic. And before I said anything, the next thing that I thought was, no, we are laying here in bed. It's before we're going to sleep. We are just enjoying each other's company, chatting. We are not going to talk about work at this. I am not going to bring up work at this point. So, not more than a minute later.
Oh no! Am I being outed?
Not more than a minute later. My lovely baby girl,
whom you love and adore,
who I love and adore so much,
I love you too, Daddy,
goes, Daddy, what are we going to talk about this week?
That just proves great minds think alike. That's what that proves. But you know what's funny? That moment laying in bed was I didn't know it at the time. That was Tuesday night. And I thought of this on Wednesday night. That was one of the catalysts for this idea, because we have had, over the past, not quite week, we've had multiple nights where we just sort of, we're either too tired or just kind of not feeling it for sex or kinky fuckery. And up until a few days ago, I had still been in pain. I'd had, the neck thing going on and whatever else. So there just wasn't going to be sex or kinky fuckery. But we had gotten into this sort of little pattern of laying in bed, curling up with one another, something we haven't done in a long time, just chatting.
We did that for a long time in the beginning, and then it kind of faded away as things started getting very hectic with us.
Right.
And we've kind of gotten back to it. So as soon as she said that, I looked over her and I said, baby girl, we are not talking work in bed right now.
This just shows how delirious I am by the time I even lay down in bed. I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
Don't remember
I remember very well.
But the reason I had the idea that I wanted to talk about intimacy and intimate moments. So intimacy means a lot of things to a lot of people.
Sure.
I think the vast majority of people tend to think about sex first, even if they know and they can come up with a million other examples of intimacy. That's kind of usually where our mind goes first, either sex or romance. But last night, Wednesday night, you went to bed before me, which is rare for us,
Very
but
rare.
It happens.
I was exhausted.
And I was in this weird mental place where it truly felt a little bit like depression, not deep depression, but like a high functioning thing I kind of get from time to time. And I was tired, but I literally didn't even have the will to get off the couch to go to bed. It's not a good feeling. And so I'm laying in bed and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go to bed, and I'll just keep watching YouTube because that requires nothing from me other than to hit the play button. And by the time I got to bed, I realized I was finally ready to sleep, but I also realized I missed what we'd had the previous nights where the lamp is on, we're just laying in bed, there's no expectation of there's going to be...
And it's not a bright light that we have on it, it's just a little reading lamp, a very soft
that's
soft light.
What I'm not describing well is that there's soft light in there, it's dim, but we can see each other, and it's not like all the lights are on and we're going hard and we're working, we're just, sitting there, laying there talking to one another. Right. And I missed it last night, and I missed that moment. I was like, oh, and then I had to do that. You can't have the things you want all the time because then you take them for granted. You kind of have to have those moments where you sort of miss them a little bit. And I was like, okay. And then I went, I know what we could talk about. Now that is us confessing for the 136th week in a row, quite frankly, that we never have our shit together enough to plan out our topics. Also, we have 2 separate lists going of topics, so it's not like we don't have topics.
Right.
But...
yours, mine, and ours.
Pretty much. But that had been such a nice sort of break from everything else. And life for us is not bad. Everything's fine. Things are good. It's like anybody else's life and relationship. It's just busy. And you get focused on the things that you're doing, or you get focused on the things you have to get done during the day. And it's very easy for... the moments where you can just be close to one another and enjoy each other on some level, they tend to slip past you. I remember back in the day of being long distance, and so I know this is true for our LDR friends out there, that you have it kind of the opposite, that you are very keenly aware of what you're missing when you're not together, and then when you are together, you have to pack it all into whatever that time frame is. And then,
oh my God, I remember that all too well.
Yeah, and then it's physically painful when you're separated for different reasons, but one of those is because you lack those daily small intimacies.
Right.
Now, I do want to make it clear here that I don't think that the ability to have intimate moments, and intimacy can mean a lot of different things, and I have a few notes, we'll go over those things, but while we might attribute them primarily to sexual relationships or romantic relationships, that's not a requirement. You can have an intimate moment with another human being and never want to bone them, okay? And never want to have a long-term relationship. They could just be your best friend. I've had really intimate moments with people that I'm not attracted to. I love them on a platonic level. And those moments are just as special to me as the intimate moments you and I have. So while many of our examples will be from clearly a romantic and sexual relationship, I sort of want to put that out there from the very beginning that that's not a requirement. I think most of us, if you've got even one really close friendship in your life, you can think of moments where it's been an intimate moment of deep connection. For me, that's the definition of intimate. It's about deep connection. It can be a physical connection, it can be a mental connection, it can be an emotional connection, but you've had this small little moment in time where everything else is irrelevant. It's just you and the other person, and you connected on some level. You shared a secret, you talked about your hopes and dreams, you saw into the other person, to get woo-woo for a minute, you sort of saw into their soul for a minute, and you shared this thing, and now you walk away from that moment closer maybe than you were before, or in terms of long-term DS relationships, maybe reconnected. So for me, what this has been, these nights of cuddling and talking, and we talk... except when I bring up work, we talk about a lot of wide-ranging topics that aren't necessarily directly affected by our goals and the things that are stressing us out. And we're not talking about the kids, and we're not talking about the house we're trying to fix up so we can sell it, and we're not talking about the move in here. Like, those are the things that are our part of our
day-to-day.
Right, and there are stressors. This is a moment to kind of get away from them.
Those things at that point, when we crawl into bed and we're talking like that, those things get kicked to the curb.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't even remember what we talk about. What I remember is laying there,
is
feeling
the time
warm,
together.
laughing.
And that's just it. It's time having fun. I mean, we laugh, we giggle.
We cut up, we crack inappropriate jokes that we'd probably never say in the light of day,
Yes.
but they're hilarious at the time.
At the moment. So yeah, it's not a time we spend talking about anything serious. Sometimes it's I have a hand on her arm, or her head's cradled in my shoulder.
I love that. I mean, it's so I have briefly talked about this many times, and if you follow my personal blog, you know I sort of can't stop talking about this, but you and I are the same height, and that took me a while to get over. Because I was sort of conditioned that men are always supposed to be taller than women, which is a bunch of bullshit, but there it was. It was. So anytime I can feel, and I'm not a small person, I'm not huge, I'm average size, but I've always felt much larger than I probably actually physically am. I'm very conscious of the space I take up in the world. There's a lot there to unpack. That's a whole other show, y'all. But what I've always enjoyed is when I can feel physically small. And sometimes I think part of my humiliation fetish is when I can feel mentally and emotionally small. And reduced in some way.
Yes.
Couldn't do it permanently. That would be damaging, but during kinky fuckery, that's kind of cool.
It's a great thing, yeah.
So physically smaller has always been nice to me too, which is why when I could physically do it with my knees, kneeling on the floor, kneeling, not even kneeling all the way down like in a prostrate kind of form, but just being on my knees, being lower than you. So in the bed, the way we cuddle, I am a good head below you, which does mean my toes also hang off the end of the bed. But you make sacrifices for the things that matter. That's one I'll make. And so I can look up at you, and my head is on your shoulder.
Ass.
I know, I love it. You got those long old arms. You can get to my ass no matter where I am in the bed. And so it's all of it. There's no one thing I enjoy about it more. Those times it's the whole package. It's the fact that the light is dim and it's not bright, and we're not working and rushing and having to be wide awake. We can be kind of drowsy and sleepy. And it's the fact that we talk about almost anything and whatever comes to mind, and it's the way we're skin to skin, because we're naked when we sleep at night. Right. So we're naked in the bed, and the sheets just kind of pulled up, and sometimes it's down to the details of the way the ceiling fan, the air circulating from the ceiling fan feels, or the click of the AC turning on, because our AC unit's right outside our window. It's my white noise machine. I didn't even know it. It's all of that together that makes for this really special moment. And I don't think it was a conscious effort to make ourselves start that back up, but it did feel sort of purposeful, because we had one night where we were sort of like, I think this is the time we're supposed to have the sex. I don't really want to have the sex. And you're like, good, because I'm kind of fucking tired. Can we do this later?
I didn't want to have the sex either.
But I didn't want to just roll over and go to sleep. I didn't want you to just read your ebook.
No.
I wanted to be with you on some level. And then we had a few nights of it, and then last night we skipped the night, and it's not the end of the world. It's not the worst thing ever, but I missed it. And I think in that case, the intimacy, as you can clearly tell, y'all, it's not about anything physical. It's just enjoying that moment together and making the rest of the world stop for a minute, and time almost stops. There are no pressures. There's nobody wanting anything from us. It's just this, like being in almost like in a time capsule. You're just sort of encapsulated in your own little space, and nothing else around you matters.
Correct. And I think what it does is it brings you into the moment. Okay? Because everybody, it's so easy in life to, worry about the past, what has been, and things that have happened. It's easy to worry about the future.
God knows.
Okay? What will the future bring? And it's very difficult for us and I say us, not us in particular, but just people in general, to be in the moment and take in a particular moment.
Absolutely.
All right.
And I think when you can do that with a person you care deeply for, whatever that moment looks like, it's an opportunity to reconnect, especially, whether you're separated by distance, whether you're just separated because you both have busy lives, maybe you're still dating and you live apart and you only get to see each other a couple of times a week, whatever it is that's keeping you apart from one another on any level, physically, emotionally, mentally, finding these small moments of intimacy lets you reconnect to the other person. I truly have felt, I think I have felt calmer in general in the past week than I have in the past probably 2 or 3 months. And there's there's a few reasons for that, but I feel like I can draw a direct line back to these evenings where we're just taking time to be together.
Now, what's funny is while we were up in Mississippi, we have a kind of unique situation for us while we're there. The bedroom that we use while we're there has a TV in it. And
which we do not have a TV in our bedroom.
We don't have a TV in our bedroom.
And no interest in having a TV in our bedroom.
And it's when we're there, it's very novel. And we will put the TV on and, we will sit there and stare at the TV.
Hours. We don't sleep real well.
No, we don't sleep well. We don't really talk to one another.
No.
And
we're like, oh, look at this moving pictures and people are talking to us.
Right?
Wow.
There's a box on the wall with moving pictures.
We can't work the remote very well, but we can watch the TV.
But it was one of the things on our way back we were talking about, and we both were in agreement on this. Neither one of us wants a TV in our bedroom.
No,
okay,
not
just for that reason. The TV is for the living room.
Which we almost never turn on
Which we
anyway.
almost never turn on anyway unless we watch a movie. But, really, because especially in the bedroom, I mean, not just for sexual wise, but, just for that intimacy. It takes away, it pulls your focus away from one another.
And I could see somebody making the argument that watching a favorite TV show with somebody you care about could be an intimate moment.
True.
And I think it's all in the mindset.
Porn.
Or
could
porn.
be used for
porn.
Have some porn in the bedroom.
I make my own porn, thank you very much. I just need a bigger mirror. Then I can take better naked selfies. So goal for new house.
Big mirrors.
Big mirror on the wall in the bedroom. But, I think it's all about how you feel about the thing that you're doing too, and the connection you bring to that as well. Because you and I have had multiple intimate moments just taking a walk, just the two of us. Sometimes the walk is purposeful and we are like, we need to get this walk done. We need to go this way and then that way and then get inside and take a shower and get done with this shit. And then sometimes it's, hey, you just want to chat while we power walk through the neighborhood.
Right.
And scare the neighbors and
right.
But so it's for us, the TV is very rarely that. Now there are times when we really get into a TV show because I don't even know how to watch a season of TV anymore because I binge watch everything. If I can't watch a whole damn season or series at one fucking time, what's the point? What are we even doing?
Right.
But there are times when we've really loved a show. Doctor Who. Yeah. That's an intimate moment. It's a different kind of intimacy.
Yes.
It's the intimacy if we're talking about connection and having this shared moment. And Doctor Who for us is that. I quite frankly would be happy if we went back to the reboot with the Ninth Doctor and started again while we wait for the next Doctor to finally
But then
show
again,
up.
there too. I mean, while that is a shared moment between us, and we know we both love it, we don't invite the Doctor and the TARDIS into the bedroom.
No, for us that won't work.
No.
That's I guess my point is it's finding what does work for you and what you can, and it's about how you feel about a thing. And sometimes, I'm sure this happens more than most people might want to admit, you think you've had a very intimate moment and the other person has not had an intimate moment.
Right.
They were just watching the porn is what they were doing.
Something to be said for that too. I mean,
and that's the thing. There's no one thing is better or worse than another. It's just a way to connect on a deeper level.
Well, intimacy is different to means a different thing to
Absolutely.
different
And
people.
for some people, it's purely sexual or it's purely romantic. Right. That's, for them, that's where intimacy fits. For me, if, I would say when I get to, where was I? I was picking up the nearly 13-year-old. Holy hell. He's still 12, but God, he's almost 13. Picking the 12-year-old up from hanging out with one of his friends at a birthday party. And that 15-minute drive, when he asks me like the world's deepest questions, like I need a philosophy degree to answer some of these questions. When we really get into that moment, and I think it goes back to what you said earlier, is about being in the moment. It's sort of a mindfulness kind of thing. You're not worried about the past. You're not worried about the future. You're right here with this other person. That's a very intimate moment with him. As a mother and a son, we are coming together and we're creating a connection that I can only hope and pray sort of stays with him through his lifetime, and he remembers these kinds of moments. So it's not, for me, it's not just about sex. Now, have we had some really intimate sexual moments and romantic moments? And absolutely, our entire wedding, to me, even though we had people around us and we shared it with people we loved, that was our 2 or 3 hours or whatever it was. That was a romantic, intimate moment.
Right.
Because that was all about our love and our expression of our love and our commitment to one another and the way we choose to express that commitment to one another. Also, you're a good tax break. Thank you.
And, glad I'm good for something.
I'll keep you around for that.
Jeez.
But, that was one where we did share it with other people. And yet the way everybody else, even the people who love us most, our families and our closest friends, they experienced it differently than you and I experienced it. I mean, how many times during our wedding were we just sitting there, everybody around us is talking, people are asking us questions, and every once in a while we would just turn and look at one another and we'd make eye contact. And we knew what the hell the other one meant. We knew we were kind of going, look at this shit. Can you believe this shit? We're fucking married.
What have I done?
Stop. That was when you were crying later on the side, hanging off the side of the ship. Okay, that was different. Whatever. I told you I'd overlook that, and we could stay married anyway.
I think that was the drinks.
Ooh, yeah, that was a lot of drinking that night.
Yeah, even for me. Oh boy.
But that's the thing. It's not about what you do. So if TV is a thing that makes you feel intimate with the person you care about, fine. If it's going and doing a specific activity, fine. It's about how you feel and sharing that feeling. And I think that's the difference, because there are times where one person's having a feeling about a situation and the other person's just not.
True.
And it's when you share that moment and you recognize that you're both feeling something about this moment.
Right.
And I think that it's very easy in extremely hectic lives to forget that stuff. I know we had.
It is.
Not. When was the last time we had? Up until a week ago, we had been this way when we go to bed.
Oh yeah.
It's been months and months.
Right.
Easily. And now I know we can't do it every night, because some nights you really will just fall into bed exhausted.
Yes.
Like, fuck you, I love you, I'm rolling over and going to sleep. Which is kind of what you did to me last night.
But I will say this: even on the nights that we do that, we are always in contact with one another. Okay?
That is true.
We are either spooned in some way, or I will have my hand in the small of your back.
I love that feeling.
Yeah. I mean, we always have a physical connection.
And that for us, and physical touch isn't even one of my top love languages, but I do love it. I'm demanding my butt rubs as frequently as I
like
can.
Like a true baby girl.
Oh yeah, rub my butt. But you said that, and it reminds me of a thing that if you did it all the time, I don't think it would be as meaningful to me as the fact that you do it infrequently and when it feels right to you. When we're out in public and you put your hand on the small of my back, I'm telling you, I'm a puddle. If I was wearing panties, they'd melt. That is for me, and I think we all have our different meanings behind different gestures, right? So the hand on the small of the back, for me, has always been sort of a protective gesture.
Right.
Which, as a submissive baby girl, I like that coming from my partner. Hello, my dominant partner. I wouldn't want it from most other people. I'd be like, what are you doing back there? I personal bubble thing going on. But from you, it's a protector thing. It's a proprietary thing. I fully, as a trying to be a woke feminist, fully support I'm an independent fucking person, and I'm not anybody's property. And yet I'm a submissive baby girl. It's like, I belong to my daddy. There's a lot of stuff going on in my head, and that's you'd think it was multiple personalities, quite frankly.
From my perspective, and something like that, when I do that, it there is a certain amount of power with a touch like that, because it's almost like placing my hand there in that spot, and it's like guiding you.
It is. Oh yes, it is definitely that too. Oh, I love that. We just need to go out, and I just need you to don't tell me you're going to do it, because then that takes it all.
Takes away from it. It's when it just happens.
It's when it just happens, and that it might be. It never lasts as long as I want it to when we're out in public, and partly because there's people around, and it doesn't always you can't always walk shoulder to shoulder through doorways, right?
No.
So it never lasts as long as I'd like it to, but. Even when it's a 30-second, just your fingertips grazing the small of my back in that way, it is a jolt, and it is a moment, and you and I are connected, because at that moment I am the woman you love. I am your submissive. I'm your baby girl. I am your property. I belong to you. And you are leading me, even if you are next to me or behind me, because of where you are and where you put your hand and all that good stuff. And I'm following you on some level, and it is absolutely this like spark, this moment of absolute closeness. We are connected. We can't even right now. Right? We can't even look each other in the eyes when you're in that position most of the time, because I'm usually a little off to the side and kind of ahead of you at that point.
Right.
And yet I feel all of that, and up until this very moment when I ask, I have assumed you have felt the equivalent, the opposite side of that, So it doesn't take much to have these moments. I think you have to be open to it. I think you have to have some trust and communication and closeness with the other person, but it doesn't take much.
But see, that kind of proves a point, because like you said, touch is not your love language, but I truly believe that we as humans, even if you're the deepest introvert that ever existed, I still firmly believe that as human creatures, we crave a certain degree of intimacy, of touch.
Absolutely. They've done. Don't anybody quote me, and I'll wait for Professor Sex or somebody who's better at this than me. I believe back in the day, at least, they have done studies on babies, who live in orphanages, those who don't, separated from their parents or whatever, and how the lack of physical touch and being held and carried and picked up
can shape them.
Right, affected them. Right. And so that's from childhood. So it even if there are people with sensory issues and other things that might make touch difficult for them, or maybe only in specific instances. But for the vast majority of us, touch, I am one of those introverts. I don't want everybody to touch me. Now, if I'm in a position where I feel very comfortable, Eroticon is a good example. I am quintessentially myself there. I'm Kayla Lords. I'm out, everything. You know who you're dealing with. And I'm coming across people that I've been talking to on Twitter, and I feel like I've air quote known for a long time.
Or through your blog for years,
I can hug the hell out of those people, right? Mm-hmm. You get me into a place where I don't feel some kind of other connection with a human being, you better not touch me. I've got a 3-foot rule. It is a bubble. Don't get too close. I can't. It makes me claustrophobic.
And I understand that. So, you were the same way the first time I took you to our munch.
Yeah, no. I needed to sit in a corner by myself.
You were pretty much, you were kind of sitting there observing and taking it all in. But now, I mean,
I'm right in the middle and the thick of things. But my point is somebody like me on that end of the touch spectrum, once I feel a connection, a mental connection or emotional connection, then I can have the physical connection. Then the touch does become very important to me. And I guess, to illustrate the whole when children are touched or not touched or hugged or whatever, shown affection. I can remember the only time in my childhood, the one time I actually remember my father hugging me. The first time. I was 13. I'm sure when I was a baby, he held me, because you have to hold babies to get them anywhere. But
one would hope.
One would hope. But I did spend the first 2 years of my life primarily living with my grandmother and my aunt and my mom. My dad there were issues. Anyway, so he might not have held me very much when I was teeny tiny. But from the point of having really clear memories,
right,
I remember one physical hug from my father. And that hug is seared into my memory because it was the first time I remembered him ever. I realized he was doing it. And so it stayed that special to me. So I do wonder if...
And sometimes I
that
wonder...
lack of physical affection has sort of, molded me into the person I am today.
And here's something to think about, because I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking about, how we spend our time in bed again. Sometimes I wonder if when you are mindful of a moment like that, when you are in that moment, living that moment, if those are the times that make the biggest impression on your memory.
That would make sense to me. I would love to know if that's true scientifically.
Yeah.
It would make sense. It would make sense to me because you are being mindful. Your brain's not scattered doing a million other things.
Right.
It's not, like you said, thinking about the past, thinking about the future. Then it would make sense to me. And if it's not scientifically true, I would say it's anecdotally true, because you know how I am. I'm not what we would call a sentimental person. If you get me to talk about my childhood for long enough, you'll go, no, yeah, I see how that might have happened. But
that's why I have a card here that she gave me.
Two Valentines?
two Valentines
and you
ago.
Still have it on
I
your
still
desk.
have it. I held on to this card just because I know the fact that they are going to be far and few between.
I give you cards every year.
Yes, you do.
I do not keep any cards that anybody gives me. And that's not true, actually. All the Loving BDSM listeners who have sent mail to us.
That's on our dresser.
I do keep that. Not organized, not well, not in a place of honor, but I do keep it.
It is.
The cards my children have given me for Mother's Day, they're already gone. I'm not a sentimental person. But actually get back to the point.
Okay.
Anecdotally, I would say that yes, when you're living in the moment, and especially when they're positive moments, I'm sure this is true when they're negative too, they do stick with you, because I'm not sentimental and I tend to have a faulty, fuzzy memory about things, but there are things that I remember very specifically, especially with regards to you and I. And then when I think about those moments, they were extremely intimate moments. First time you ever spanked me, even though I safe worded the first time you ever spanked me.
I remember that time very well too.
I know. I can still feel on my ass the burn of your hand. I can see every detail of my couch. I can see every detail of the room we were in. Like, I can see it. Here's one that'll show that
I still feel the heat of your ass in the palm of my hand.
Well, you've been living with the heat of that ass for several years now, so that's ingrained in you now. That's below skin level now. But to take it to a purely non-sexual moment, has nothing to do with kink or anything. I still remember when we did not the back patio we built out of block. I'd like to rip that from my memory. That was miserable. That was way too much like labor. But off to the side of our back patio, there's a little half fence thing that lets us pretend we have privacy from our neighbors.
Yes.
Because we live in a condo, but it's a villa, so we share a
condo,
wall. And we don't have a fenced yard or anything. And then we have this little section around where the AC unit is, and we planted flowers. And I can remember, you have a picture somewhere of me holding up both my arms like I'm showing off my muscles by the fence that I had helped you put up.
Yeah.
And I remember very specific details of that moment, because I remember, I think it was a time I was in the moment of doing that with you. I wasn't worried about what we were going to do next. I wasn't worried about what we had,
Yeah.
we were right there and we were laughing and we were having a good time. And I was being quintessential baby girl and whining about the heat and the sweat because that's what I do. And yet that is a thing. Like here's how bad this is, y'all. This is so bad. I remember going to buy the plants. I know we got the plants. I remember we put the plants out there. The memory is not ingrained in me the way that little fence thing is. And here's how I know that memory's not ingrained in me. For 6 months, I forgot we had flowers out there, and I forgot they existed, and I didn't ask if they were still living or if they needed to be watered. I'm a bad plant mom. I should not be allowed to raise plants. So it's not everything, and I would even say it's not even always the things you plan for or want to be intimate moments. Sometimes you don't have any control. Sometimes it happens because everything is the stars are aligned perfectly. Everything's set up just right. That this moment that you thought, well, we're just going to sit here on the couch and chit chat. And next thing you know, you've had this deep, deep connection with another human being. In this case, that you happen to be in a DS relationship with. So whatever that might mean to you. I mean, sometimes the most intimate moments are when we're laughing as the equals we are. And sometimes it's when you've gone all daddy on me. And sometimes it's when I am my cutest, most adorable, sweetest baby girl self, which only happens like once every 5 years. So we should write this on the calendar when it happens.
Yeah. It's not an often kind of thing.
No. And I think most people would say, whether you're in a relationship or you're not, the intimacy matters in a relationship. But I think once you get into you get into the rhythm of a long-term relationship, you're out of new relationship energy. So the high is, you've come down from that high. And especially once it's longer term and you're in these, you've created these patterns and you know what the person's going to say next. You know what they're going to do next. You know what's supposed to happen next. It's easy to lose some of that intimacy. And we've had a very healthy relationship all this time. And even though we haven't, had these late night conversations in bed and these other intimate moments. So it's not that your relationship is doomed if you kind of lose some of that or if that drops off. But I have felt calmer. I have felt more centered. I felt closer to you. It's an enhancement. There are times you desperately need intimacy because if you don't have intimacy and you're not communicating well and your needs aren't getting met, then there's a problem.
Speaking of needing that, I found it fascinating a number of years ago. I came across that there are actually professional huggers and cuddlers.
That would bother the fuck out of me. But I can see where other people would like it.
Yeah,
I would not like it.
I mean, I can understand the stranger danger.
Yeah, you're not getting near me. You better back up.
All right. But I found it fascinating that these people actually provided hugs and cuddles for people who wanted them.
And I think that's a wonderful thing.
And that there is enough of a need for that for people like that to exist.
If anybody will just look around the world for about 30 seconds, you'd go, I could name a list of people who could use a hug. Okay. Yeah. They could use some intimacy in their lives.
Yeah.
And and I'll give you an example of how a lack of intimacy or those intimate moments, let's put it that way, those specific moments where you stop everything and you just sort of connect or find yourself connecting. Because like I said, you can't always orchestrate these things. By itself, it's not the worst thing if everything else is mostly good in your relationship. If it's a pretty healthy, solid relationship, it's not going to kill your relationship for that to fall behind or fall the wayside a little bit, but it certainly doesn't help your relationship. But here's how, when things are not good at all across the board, intimacy can't fix it either. So back in the day, still married, had not yet admitted to myself I did not want to be married. What the hell was I doing there? Get out. No. We were not there yet. I was still for the long haul. Oh, I guess marriage is just misery. Okay, fine. And because of past behavior patterns from my ex-husband, where he was that guy, it's the stereotype, but stereotypes are that for a reason, who would do the 30-second shoulder rub and thought that was foreplay. Or or would curl up to me at night in bed, and I didn't even sleep naked at the time. I was like, it had never occurred to me prior to the sex blogging life to sleep naked. Where if he cuddled up to me, within moments you felt the tapping on your ass and you knew what that meant, right? And so because he spent so many years, and that's not all his fault, I was very stingy with the physical affection. And knowing myself the way I do now is because the connection had been lost and the trust was gone. And I don't like people I don't trust touching me. If you're not one of my people, you don't get to touch me. It's just a thing. So, or you'll get to touch me once and then it's not happening again. So he sort of trained me to, when he would finally be physically intimate with me, he'd lay a hand on me somewhere, no matter how innocently, my brain would go, fuck, you want sex? And that's the last thing I want to do with him is have sex. Now, I wouldn't say that out loud. I was not at that place where I could actually say those things, but it was what I was thinking. And towards the end of our relationship, he would, even before I knew I wanted the relationship to end, he would try to just create an intimate moment. I can go back now in my memory and go, oh, he really was trying. And he would just hug me or want to hold me or just want to hold my hand. And I could not stand it. He was trying to create that intimate moment to reconnect, to fix what was broken, to, whatever. Yeah. And I was already so far past that point.
You had already disconnected.
And so whatever it meant for him on his side, I was not feeling it on my side. And that to me is what you have to have for the moment to truly be intimate. You both have to be in a similar or the same, I hesitate to say identical, but a similar mindset. You both have to want to be there. It has to be meaningful to you in a positive way, to both of you, even if, especially in DS, we are a yin and yang to one another. So like I think of examples like how top space and subspace affect us differently. I get all floaty, you get hyper focused. I want to sleep, you're like, I can't sleep. I'm awake, right?
I'm wired to the nines.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a yin and yang kind of thing. And I see a lot of that in a lot of different parts of DS, but I think especially in the power exchange, because we think in dichotomies in DS, right? One side has power, one side doesn't, blah, blah, blah. I see that in intimacy as well. So you and I don't have to have the exact same thought or feeling about the intimate moment. We just have to be in the same kind of space. So like, go back to the hand on the small of my back. Right. I feel protected. You feel like you're guiding me. I feel owned. You feel like you've claimed me. It's a yin and yang thing. It's two sides of the same coin.
Right.
So in an intimate moment, you don't both have to be thinking or feeling the exact same thing. It's probably impossible for that. But it does have to be equally meaningful to you both.
It's the perception of the moment.
Right. Exactly. And what it means to you. And it has to mean something to both of you in order to be an intimate moment, whatever it may be. But I don't think adding intimacy will fix an inherently broken relationship. No. I do think that it can be part of the process. If communication's gone out the window, if trust has gone out the window, you're going to have to get those two things back in order to have an intimate moment.
Right.
Because that intimacy is, to me, built on a certain amount of trust and a certain amount of care. I mean, I think that they've done... I can't think of the name of it, but there's an experiment that claims that you can fall in love with a stranger in like 4 minutes. And I don't remember all the details.
I remember you vaguely talking about that the other day.
It's a thing on intimacy where you ask each other like a series of questions, and then you're supposed to make eye contact and stare at one another for a set amount of time.
Are they specific set questions or just random questions?
No, they're questions. The people who were studying it had like a series of questions. And they're questions designed, I think, to help you open up a little bit to the other person, to get to know the other person a little bit.
Gotcha.
I watched a video on it ages ago, and then the study and the article resurfaced online recently. And I didn't read it again, but I went, oh yeah, I remember that when I saw it. But, and so it builds kind of a false intimacy, a temporary intimacy. And so there's got to be other things going on in order for the intimacy even occur between you. So I don't think intimacy is going to fix a broken relationship, but if you're on the rocks and you can get everything else building back up, then I think you open yourself up for the potential to have an intimate moment and to connect on some level.
It'll add another level back.
Exactly. You know, if I'm thinking, like right now, I'm thinking of people who are in their relationships, but the DS has been turned off, right? Intentionally or not, right? Like you just went, oh, this isn't working, and you just sort of stopped, or you went, oh God, we can't right now, whatever. Yeah. So now you want to get back into it. if there's still, I think, a lot of care and trust between you, you're going to have intimate moments.
Sure.
It's possible between human beings. I don't care what your relationship level is. It's about how you're connected. But if you go through the steps of working to rebuild your DS and you're communicating along those lines and you're building your trust in one another along those lines as a dominant to a sub, as a sub to a dominant, then I think, even if it's purposeful, even if you try to orchestrate an intimate moment, you can't guarantee an outcome. You can certainly put yourself in the space for it, you know. For me, intimate moments have always been quiet moments.
Yeah.
Whether it's because the screaming in my head shuts up or the world around me gets a little quieter, like at night and in bed, you know, or when the kids go to sleep and we're on the couch together, or if we go out for a coffee and we actually can sit close and talk. Sometimes we go for a coffee and the way we sit, we're basically people watching together, and it's nice to be there. It's not the same level of intimacy.
No.
But sometimes we sit at a table off to the side. There's nobody around us. We can talk about anything we want. And the way we sit across the table, our body language says it all. We lean forward across the table. And we are in our own bubble when we do it. And while every moment of that is not this deep, you know, meaningful, intimate moment.
But we're focused on each other.
We're focused on one another. And when you're focused on one another, that's when the opportunity for intimacy occurs, to have that moment.
And what I want you to take notice of is, you know, some people might say, oh my God, well, how can you have intimacy in a DS relationship?
God, I would say, how can you not?
How can you not? You know,
how is that not possible?
Well, you would have some people who say that because, you know, oh, well, DS, it's structured, it's protocol,
right,
it's
and
rules
the dominant
and tasks.
is to sort of stand apart from the submissive and keep this submissive at arm's length. That's not my style of DS, so
mine
I don't
either.
know how that works.
You know, it goes hand in hand in my mind, and it may not be for everybody, but in my mind, the two go hand in hand, and the one enhances the other.
And I think part of that is you have to redefine what you consider intimacy.
Yeah.
So many people consider intimacy to be this very sexual or romantic thing of looking longingly into each other's eyes, and you're probably naked, and there's been, you know, maybe an orgasm is involved, and that is absolutely a form of intimacy if that gives you that connected feeling. And
for some people, intimacy may be getting flogged by their dominant.
Exactly. But that's my point. You and I have had sex, and it's been sex, and it's been great. And then we have had sex that was truly we were connected from the tip of our toes to the top of our head, skin to skin, and mind to mind, and, you know, I'm going to go woo-woo, soul to soul, and it was like we were connected on every level. Yes, we have had that kind of sex. However, that's not the only kind of intimacy there is.
No.
And even if you are a highly structured DS relationship where your style is, you know, arm's length, stand above, stay below, like whatever, it's not my kind of thing. When I think of a loving relationship, platonic, romantic, sexual, doesn't matter. I don't really see how that works, but okay, fine. But even then, intimacy is capable, just like you said, it could be during a flogging. It could be for you as the dominant. Let's say you're flogging your submissive, and it's the sound the flogger makes in the air, and it's the way it feels in your hand, and it's the sound of pleasure or of whatever that escapes
coming from
your
the
submissive.
masochist,
Right. And then for the sub, it's the feel of the floggers, and it's this moment, it's this time and space where this is all you are reduced to. It's moment.
The power and the release that they're
And I think it goes back to what you said. It's the living in that moment, and and the two people involved are connected.
Right.
And you're connected by common purpose, you're connected by common joy, you're connected by common, you know, lust or love or whatever, but you are connected. And those moments can happen anywhere. They can happen in any way. I do think long-term relationships, and I say this from the perspective of people who are like doing it now, I think we have to be mindful of the need for those intimacies, small or big, because like I said, you can be rocking and rolling in your relationship and the bills are getting paid and the kids are being raised and the kinky fuckery may or may not be happening, but life starts moving really fast.
It does.
And what I have found is when we are mindful about trying to make space for intimate moments, we can't force the intimate moment, we can make space for them. Time slows down, the world slows down. I personally tons of anxiety type of person, it slows my brain down a bit. It lets me kind of take a break.
Take a breather.
Yeah, and take a deep breath and go, oh, that's right. I can just exist in
It's like
this
taking a
moment.
vacation from your mind.
Oh, God, if I could just do that. Oh, my Lord. Oh, yes, that would be 2 or 3 weeks easily. Oh, yeah, I could totally do that. Oh, my God, yes, yes, yes. I sign up for that. Yes. So are intimate moments in DS important? Of course they are.
Yes.
Can they be forced? I don't think so. Can you create the space for them to potentially happen? Yes. I think you have to have a relatively healthy DS relationship first.
Or any relationship.
Any relationship. We are a DS podcast.
Well,
like everything else we talk about, this is for real people in real situations. So yes, this does, cut across the kink vanilla line, but I know from the emails I get and the messages I get that people, worry when they don't feel the connection to their partner. And the question is, well, what do I do about it? And it always starts with the communication. It starts with,
right.
And I say this as somebody who does it. You take that moment, when you have that moment, sometimes you have to make that moment, and you look at your partner and you say, something don't feel right. Okay, maybe you don't have to say it like that. That's how I say it. You don't have to say it like that. But you have to say it, right? And so trying to create the space, and that's the other thing. If you alone are trying to create a moment for intimacy and you set up this expectation in your mind of how this moment is going to go, and you haven't had a conversation with your partner, there's a better than good chance it will not go the way you plan.
No.
Okay, you both have to be on the same page about
Right.
what you want. I don't think you can say, okay, at 9:00 tonight, we're both going to get naked. We're going to get in the bed. We're going to dim the lights. We're going to lay there, and then we're going to talk about our feelings so that we can be intimate.
Come on, you're putting the pressure on me now.
I don't think you can do that. I know some of you are going to want to do that. You're going to want to plan this moment out. I don't think you can do that. Maybe somebody out there knows better than I do and says, yeah, you can do that. This is how it works. I don't think it works that way. I think you can set the stage for it. So I think you can say, hey, can we go to bed at the same time tonight, whatever time that is? I'd really like that. Sure. And then you say, and I did this once I saw you with the Kindle in your hand. I was like, do you have to read tonight? I mean, can we just like chat? And those things, that was without me knowing. That was without me understanding what I was doing.
What you were doing,
I was
it just happened.
All I knew is that I wanted some connection. I felt
Right.
like we weren't connecting in the way I wanted us to. So I don't know if I was trying to bottom line it, and then I went on another rant. So yeah, I don't think, well, I could try. Okay. So bottom line, as best I can, not all intimacies are sexual or romantic.
Correct.
They are about the connection you have with another person.
Right.
You can set the stage for intimacy, but you cannot orchestrate it or script it. You do have to be kind of in the same mental space in order for it to happen.
It's about being in the moment and the mindfulness of the moment.
Right. And in a broken relationship, you will not fix it by trying to force some kind of connection. You can certainly try, and if it starts the process for you, great, but do not think it's gonna fix anything. I think that finding those intimate moments, creating space for intimacy between the two of you in whatever form that takes, in whatever form your DS takes, I think it strengthens an already solid relationship. I think it helps you move forward if things have felt maybe a little wobbly, like things are okay, but maybe you're feeling a little off kilter.
Wibbly wobbly.
It can be sex. It can be in place of sex. For us, and it kind of pisses me off now because I'm like, we could have been doing this shit for 6 months when we can barely have sex and we can barely do kinky fuckery. We could have been like just finding these moments.
Yeah, and you're right. We could have,
but we didn't.
We didn't. But I think part of that too was the fact that when we have those moments, we like to cuddle up with one another. You like to be, and it was very hard for you to find a comfortable position. I know, even just to sleep in.
I know, and the bedtime intimacy. Yes, that was. I was so pissed off every time I laid down, or I was miserable, or I was didn't feel good, or I just So, but I think that knowing what we know now, it doesn't have to be for us the laying in bed. It could be something else. It could be taking a walk that's not meant to burn the most amount of calories. It could just be a leisurely walk. It can be being mindful of where we sit and how we sit when we have coffee, because we know. Again, we can't force the intimate moment to happen, but we can create a place where it could happen.
Yeah.
So that's what I have to say about intimacy and DS relationships.
I think we've said a lot.
I think we have. I didn't know I had that much to say. Y'all, I know some of you out there are laughing hysterically because at the end of most episodes, I am shocked that I had a lot to say on a topic.
It doesn't shock me anymore. I mean, I'm
pretty self-aware about
I'm used
things,
to it by now.
But I'm apparently not self-aware about that. No. I'm a work in progress. But if you have thoughts on any of this, whether it's from the medical, scientific perspective of some of the things that we had mentioned as studies and stuff we had heard of, or from your own relationship and how... I would love to hear about intimacy created in DS relationships that weren't sexual or romantic, because I think any one of us, if you've had sex a couple of times or you've had a couple of romantic relationships, we can name 10 things that you can do. But non-sexual, non-romantic intimacy is less celebrated.
I read something from, was it Molly?
Molly
or
Moore?
Dom Signs, yeah. They were talking about how when they were long distance, they were, it was very hard for them to have moments together.
Sure. She was in the UK. He was
in the
States.
UK. He was in the States.
An entire ocean.
An entire ocean and several time zones apart. And one of the moments, intimate moments that they shared together. They would
watch each other sleep.
They would watch each other sleep on Skype.
Molly Moore's, I will make a note. I'll link to that. It's one of her recent blog posts.
Yes.
I will link to that in the show notes. I'm telling you, if you're in a long distance DS relationship, I recommend reading this.
Yeah.
If you are not, but you just sort of want to be blown away by one, beautiful writing. Molly's a great writer. But two, just a really intimate moment. And Molly, being who she is, she totally sexed it up in her blog post, and that was great too. That was a really hot fantasy she wrote about. But for me, because my mind has been on this intimacy thing this week, I'm reading it going, oh, the way she describes it. Oh, this is. So I'm going to link to it. It'll be in the show notes page.
So it just goes to show you, even being in a long distance relationship, you can capture those moments.
Absolutely, and you kind of. I think that once you start thinking in those terms, you will see opportunities. So just remember, it's only an opportunity. You can't force it, but you can put yourself in a position to where you can experience it.
Seize the moment.
Exactly. So back to what I was saying. If you have thoughts, if you have opinions, I would really, really, really love to hear from people who have stories or moments or things maybe that you do as much as you can that create intimacy between you and a partner that aren't sexual or romantic. Especially if you are in a more platonic DS relationship or you've just, I just would love to hear those experiences and know about those experiences, because I think that they are probably more common than we realize, but they don't get the attention that sex and romance does. Yeah. And I think that if more of us understood that we can find this connection between us and another human being, especially a partner, especially somebody you're trying to be intimate with on some level, and that we could see that they can happen in everyday situations, that maybe, people would be more connected and there would be more intimacy between partners, and then relationships might be better and people would be happier, and then we would have world peace.
Yay.
Maybe not that last part, but a girl can dream.
Hey.
So that's all I've got.
Are we good?
Probably not. We are going to have a bonus section.
Yes.
No, I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure I'll be able to fill some time.
I'm sure you'll be able to come up with something. Absolutely. All right.
Okay.
So are we good?
Vaguely.
Okay.
Keep it kinky, y'all. And we'll see you next week. Dottie.
Baby girl. You know better. You know to let me write down my numbers before you start.
Oh, but I really want to talk to the crickets. I love the crickets.
We both love the crickets, but you need to be better at not interrupting Daddy when he's trying to write.
May I please talk to the crickets because you're not writing now?
Go ahead.
I am so going to pay for that.
Yeah, you are.
So a little thing, and I'll let, if you want to talk more about it, I will let you do that, Daddy. We have actually also been video recording this podcast. As we've been talking to the microphone, the camera's been on us, and it's been really hard for me not to look. I'm looking at it right now. It's really hard not to look at yourself when you're on camera. I just want you to know. We technically got mail today.
Yes.
But we don't know what it is.
Neither one of us were able to get to the post office so we could get in there.
And I think if we have time when we're done recording,
we could probably scoot down there.
Make a quick trip down there. So here's how the post office works. It's this teeny tiny little post office. It's not in the town we live in because it was where I could get the cheapest post office the box. It cost me $52 a year to have this box. It was the cheapest in the county. So, but it's like an outpost kind of thing. They do not
literally an outpost.
Technically, the post office is running from 8 to 5 or whatever the normal hours are. But the desk area where you can get your packages or like buy stamps or whatever you need to do is only open from 10 to 12 and from 2 to 4. And so I was checking mail after a doctor's appointment this morning, and that was 8:30 in the morning. I went, I'll chance it. What if we have a postcard or a letter or something that fits in our little box?
Right.
I can go ahead and grab it. No, it was a little yellow slip that tells me.
Apparently it's a package.
It's a package. And I knew a couple people had said they were sending us packages, not just like letters or whatever. So, yeah. And I have decided from here on out, episode 136, I will refer to the link in the show notes if somebody wants to send us mail, but I will no longer give the address because in a year that post office box is going to have to change. And while there will always be some people who go back into the archives, listen to an old episode, and or find us from an old episode, I figure that saves the chance of us having a bad address out there in a year.
True. Yeah.
So if you would like to send us mail, we would love to have you send us mail. There is a link in the show notes. I called it because I don't know how to name shit, the Postcard Project. So you can get our
the PP.
No, I don't want to call it that either. That's an awful name. I don't like that name. No.
The PCP.
Your kink is not my kink. Your kink is okay. But I don't like that name. So we love mail. I love any mail that's not a bill. It doesn't have to be a package, even though, God, I'm such a baby girl. I love my packages. It doesn't have to be. I take postcards, letters, handwritten letters. We've gotten pictures drawn. We've gotten Hallmark cards. I love mail. And I love mail from around the country and around the world.
Right. We've gotten it from around the world.
We have gotten mail from around the world.
It's been amazing.
So yes, since right now it is July 5th, 2018, and this time next year, July 5th, 2019, we will be at a different address.
Yes.
In a different place entirely, except still in Florida.
That's our plan.
And so we will have a different P.O. box address by then. So I'm planning now.
Yeah.
So yes, if you would like to send us mail, just go scroll down on your podcast thing to the show notes area, and there's the link. You can get it. And then, of course, once we move, I'll have to remember to update that page.
Yes.
Oops. So I had a doctor's appointment this morning.
Right.
It was a follow-up from my steroid shot last week.
Correct.
And so I think... Yeah, because I got the steroid shot on Thursday, and then we recorded that night, and I was talking about how I was hurting. Correct. I sort of still had pain through the weekend, but then without me even paying any attention, it mostly just went away.
There you go.
So now I have another follow-up in 3 weeks, and I think finally, if I'm basically pain-free, mostly pain-free in 3 weeks, then I'm done with doctor's appointments. I know, I can't wait. I know
now we need to bubble wrap you and keep you healthy.
Well, mostly what I have to do is not sit at my desk with bad posture for 14 hours a day.
Well, we corrected that. We've got you a lumbar support. I got you a stand to raise up your laptop so it's now at eye level with the screen. And you have a wireless keyboard
so that I can position my arms.
So that you can position your arms.
And I get properly up more often during the day.
Yes. Yes.
No, so when I was talking at the top of the episode about the Patreon thing, Yeah, I've been thinking more and more about what I would love my working life to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I would love, I have said this many times before, people who've been listening for a long time will, and anybody who's been binge listening will find this familiar. The dream is to be able to create the content I want to create for people who need it. And I have so many ideas for Loving BDSM. It drives me crazy. I don't have time to do it all. And so, yeah, more and more, maybe it's because I have been pain-free and my mind has been mostly calm. I really do think I had a depressive sort of episode yesterday. It was like wind had been knocked out of sails. Like I just went from, I am mostly functioning to, I can't move, I can't think, I just have to lay here on the couch like a potato. I'm not sure why a potato would be on the couch, but this potato was on the couch. Yeah. I stopped all work. I had like 6 things to do and I just stopped. Couldn't do anymore.
And me, I spent 6.5 hours in the shop and came in and just tanked from the heat.
I know. Well, yeah, So I've been, I don't know, I've just sort of been sitting in that space where I can think about it and think about what I want, think about what I want to do. And it's, sometimes it feels like it's right there just past my fingertips. If I just stretch a little bit more, if I just do a little bit more, I can get there. And then sometimes I'm like, oh, this is a wacky dream, and who am I to be dreaming this?
Like chasing a carrot almost.
It's a little bit like the dog chasing its tail.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, I have that moment because I'm anxious and a worrier. What the hell do I do when I get
it?
When I get it, yeah. So yeah, it's I do realize that I'm not going to do any of those things where we become schmarmy, slimy sales people who, use tricks and just tactics that kind of make you go, oh, I feel like I need a shower now. I'm just going to keep being who we are. But I know we have to be more mindful, too, because people will not buy the things you're selling or do the things you'd like them to do unless you actually ask them. Apparently, that's sales 101. You have to tell people you have a thing to sell. Yeah. Who knew? Yeah. Who knew? But yeah, so one of the things and we'll probably talk more in depth about this, I think, in our Patreon bonus pod. But part of the reason we're playing around with recording ourselves, record the podcast, recording,
videoing the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know what we used to say filming, and there's no film
there's
anymore.
No film involved,
I don't know what the verb is anymore. It's because we are going to slowly start putting our podcast episodes on YouTube.
Right.
Now, if you have been you've been a listener for however long, and you might already be on YouTube, you're probably not going to care about that because, hello, you've already listened. But there are people who, that's where they get all their information, is strictly through YouTube.
Right.
And so we're like, well, why not try to reach more people and try to help more people and do it through YouTube? So that's
and unfortunately, the old podcast that we can't go back and...
I'm not recreating
recreating them. But from this point forward, at least we will be capturing...
Right.
As we record.
And old episodes, we do have a way to put them on YouTube without there being video attached. Right. So we are going to, I think, slowly do that. Like I said, I don't want to talk about all of that and not have anything to talk about for the July bonus pod, but bonus section. I need a better name for that. Somebody who's good at naming things, who's on Patreon with us, could you name that for us? So we've got these things, and I'm having to finally come to terms with the fact that you can't do everything you want all the time. I don't know why this impatient baby girl who's kind of greedy would have thought that, but so I'm having to get comfortable.
No clue.
I know I'm having to get comfortable with baby steps. But you know what I think has helped me do that? It's been the slow process of becoming physically healthier, because the neck pain. We are now in from the time I felt it to now,
which was the end of December.
Right, we're in the 8th month of that.
I know.
All my stomach issues, I was in pain every time I ate for over a year, probably.
Yes.
And then it took from going to a GI doctor to no more pain just from eating the wrong thing mostly. That took 3 months.
Well, that and the ulcer.
Well, that's one thing, is the ulcer. Yeah. I mean, I had the ulcer for who knows how long, but it took 3 months to know that it was truly healed up.
Right.
even my acceptance. So I talked about this ages ago, and I really do intend to get on YouTube to talk about this more. But you know, I'm doing the ketogenic diet, and I love it. It's like, it's not right for everybody, but it is. I think my body has been screaming at me to eat this way, and I just didn't know it.
It's helped me too. I mean, I'm not full keto like you,
right?
But even what I have done has helped.
But even that, so I've, as hard as the ketogenic diet is for most people who try it, even if they end up loving it, it is very hard for most people. Well, for me, I sort of slid right into it. And why? It's because I spent a year learning that I can't eat certain carbs. I just can't.
Right.
My body physically won't let me. And I had to grieve that and mourn that, and I had to go through that process. And so the past like year and a half, really 2 years if you count my mental health too, when I finally started going to a therapist and dealing with those things. So really the past 2 years has been a step-by-step, inch-by-inch process of getting healthier. Of first 2 years ago, I had to acknowledge I wasn't healthy, and now I have to acknowledge that I'm healthier than I was, but if I want to stay that way and become healthier, I have to keep doing stuff. But it's been this long process, and none of it happened overnight. And so I think my brain is finally, nearly 39 years on the planet, made the correlation between my health, the process I've gone through with my health, and the process of like building your career goals and dreams and plans and making those things happen. Like none of it's overnight, but it only happens if you're purposeful. So I already knew all the things I wanted to do weren't overnight, but I've been in this blogging space thinking about how to make it a career and a full-time thing for 3 or 4 years. Right. But I was just sort of waiting for it to magically happen. I know. Instead of being very purposeful and very mindful of what I was doing and trying to create a plan and, you know, all that, and the process part of it. So I feel like, my health has, my health challenges have taught me some things, and I think part of that's because I'm open to it and I'm paying attention to it. I think a lot of people go through health things and don't learn a fucking thing, but I think some of us do, and I had to grieve it too. You have to. Some people will get this, and some people won't. Other than having 2 children, from the time I was 18 to the time to now to January, essentially, I never went to a doctor unless it was a well check. Like, the most I ever saw a doctor in my adult life was to have babies. And even then, they were like, it was 5-minute checkups. I was fortunate, and it's pure luck. There's nothing else to it. Pure good luck to be very healthy. Right. And the past 2 years, between my mind and my body, that was the moment the universe went, your luck's run out and you need to learn something here. And so I did, hopefully, please, fingers crossed.
Yes.
And if nothing else, if the only thing I learned was you need to take better care of yourself, bitch, then I'm going to consider that a good lesson. So, yeah. I didn't know what I was going to talk about, but I knew I'd find something.
And you did.
And so you are making things.
I'm making things.
You made a beautiful bowl this week.
Yeah.
The wood dump.
Should I?
I'm not reading your thoughts right now. You're going to have to finish that sentence.
Well, since this is being recorded.
I mean, you can, but nobody who's actually listening to us today can hear it. Or can see it. No, you can hear it. You can't see it. But if they go find you on Instagram, The Wood Dom,
that's true.
All one word, The Wood Dom, then they will see it.
Correct.
Yeah, and you even sometimes you do Instagram lives over there.
Correct.
I know. So, yeah. So you've been doing cool stuff.
Yeah.
Playing with your new tool.
Actually, that bowl yesterday was the first thing I made with the new lathe.
I know. It's huge. It's way bigger than what you
normally
make.
Way bigger than anything I've done so far, yeah.
So it's exciting. I just wish the weather wasn't so hot for you. I wish you could be outside more.
I know. I do too. But that time will come.
Oh yeah. And then I will never see you again. I know how it is from like mid-September until about mid-May, basically.
Pretty much.
I'm like, are you ever coming in?
No.
Are you coming? No. Do you know you have sawdust in your ears? Yeah.
I'll come in when I run through the playlist on my MP3 player and have to reload it.
You have 30,000 songs. You can never run through the playlist.
Well, my MP3 player can't hold 30,000 songs.
I'm sure somewhere out there is an MP3 player who could. Just saying.
Well, if I get an updated MP3 player that can hold an SD card, then I can probably...
Then I will never see you again. I'll just send the children out with your dinner from time to time. You'll come in when you're tripping over your beard when it like gets caught in the leg.
Yeah, right.
You know, then
yeah,
you'll go, oh, well, clearly I'm done. I need to go in and hack off the beard.
I'll have to tie it off and tuck it in my shirt.
No, no, please, that's not a visual any of us wanted. Okay, you know me. I could talk to our crickets forever.
Yes.
One day, I really, really, really do have the dream. I don't know if it's a goal. There's a difference to me between goals and dreams. Goals, there's a plan. Dream is just a thing you want to happen. Okay, so I have the dream of in-person events where we go to a place and crickets and other listeners come and see us.
Like a meet and greet.
Kind of like a meet and greet, but you know me, we'd have to do something educational. I'd have to give me a microphone, start recording me. I got to talk about something. But I would just love to have like a massive, like, even if it's just a big conference room where it's like sitting at a kitchen table, you know, and everybody can have whatever the beverage, well, not whatever caffeinated beverage, your choice, tea, coffee, water. And we could just talk, but Lord, they'd be kicking me out of that hotel too. Ma'am, you've been speaking for 8 hours. We need you to leave now. I could see that happening.
They'd
I know me.
Put you on a dolly and you'd be talking as they're rolling you out.
I know, because we bring our own mic, so I could just walk around with my own mic and just talk. No, I do. It's not a goal yet because I don't have a plan in my head of how to get there. It's still a dream, but yeah, I do. I have a dream of where we do live events, even whether it's one event in one place and people come to us, or we go to places and do events. We're not big, so it's not like we're gonna do some sort of like live tour or anything. No. But it would still, it would be amazing to do something like that.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm dreaming. You know how I am.
I know.
The moment my mind can kind of quiet down and all the noise can be quiet, then that's when everything else starts
coming in.
Yeah,
I know.
And that's when
I know how your head works.
I know, and that's when you start going, God, will the noise please get louder? I'm tired. She's got all these damn ideas. I'm so tired. Okay, well, you guys know we love you.
Yes, we do.
And I hope you got something out of this week's episode and that it was helpful. And yeah, I'm feeling good. I hope, knock on wood, this time next week I'm still feeling good. It would be nice to get into a good groove like that where you just, things are just mostly good.
It will be nice to have you back to normal.
Oh, are you sure you're ready for that? We've had me at like half strength for a while.
I know. I think I'm ready.
Okay, we'll see.
I've missed the whole you.
Yeah. Is the world ready for the whole me?
That is debatable, but...
Because we're coming up on the 3rd anniversary of the show.
Yes.
So...
This August 2018.
Right. Once I started sort of going, like, mentally and physically, like, starting to have issues, we were a year into the show, and we had not quite hit our stride yet, I think. We were...
True.
Well,
it was mostly you at that point.
Exactly. And I think that once we hit the year mark is really, like, right after this, kind of when we hit our stride show-wise, so... Even the audience hasn't heard me at full strength yet. Woo! I apologize now for what's about to happen. Yeah. Okay. I have to say goodbye, don't I?
Yes, we do.
I don't want to say goodbye.
Baby girl, you gotta let these poor people go. They have, they have dinner to eat, breakfast,
I know
they're going to work.
Who, sit in the parking lot at their job to try and get a couple more minutes out because we don't stop
So we need to let them get on to their day.
Okay.
All right. We love you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening and supporting us and believing in us.
Yes, we would not be here without you. We love you so, so much. Bye.
Bye.